abandoned for her looks, but love found her in the most unexpected way. The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor, sending crystal shards skittering across the ballroom like scattered diamonds. Clara stood frozen, her engagement ring still warm on her finger, as her fiancé Derek's voice cut through the silence. "I can't do this anymore. Look at yourself, Clara, just look at yourself." Every head in the restaurant turned. The proposal that had started with rose petals and violin music now ended with Clara's humiliation playing out before 50 witnesses. Her hand trembled as she looked down at her dress, suddenly too aware of every curve, every inch of skin that Derek's eyes were rejecting. "Derek, please," she whispered, but he was already backing away, his face twisted in disgust. "I thought you'd lose the weight. I really did. But it's been 2 years, Clara. 2 years of watching you eat, watching you make excuses. I can't walk down the aisle with someone who doesn't respect themselves enough to look good for me." The words struck like physical blows. Clara felt her throat closing, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall. Not here, not in front of all these people. Derek turned to leave, then paused, delivering his final strike. "My mother was right about you. You're not wife material, you're just comfortable." The door swung shut behind him. The restaurant remained silent. Clara stood there, ring in hand, wondering how love had turned to poison so quickly. She didn't cry. Not in the restaurant, not in the taxi, not even when she reached her small apartment and saw her reflection in the mirror. She just stared at herself, seeing what Derek had seen, what his mother had whispered about at family dinners, what she'd tried so hard to ignore. The next morning, Clara called in sick to work. Then the day after. By the third day, her sister Natalie was pounding on her door. "Clara Marie Bennett, you open this door right now, or I'm calling the landlord." Clara shuffled to the door, still in the same clothes from 3 days ago. Natalie took one look at her and pushed inside, arms full of grocery bags. "Okay, absolutely not. This ends now." Natalie started unpacking containers of soup, fresh bread, and her famous chocolate chip cookies. "Derek is a shallow, pathetic man-child who did you the biggest favor of your life." "He's right, though, isn't he?" Clara's voice was hollow. "I'm overweight. I'm not pretty. His mother always said I wasn't good enough for their family. His mother wears too much perfume and has the personality of a dried-out sponge." Natalie grabbed Clara's shoulders. "Listen to me. You are beautiful. You're smart, you're kind, and you deserve someone who sees that. Derek couldn't see past his own insecurities, and that's his loss." Clara wanted to believe her. She really did. But Derek's words had burrowed deep, joining every cruel comment she'd ever received, every side glance, every time someone had made her feel less than. 2 weeks later, Clara returned to work at Morrison and Associates, a prestigious law firm where she worked as a paralegal. Her coworkers offered sympathetic smiles and avoided mentioning Derek's name. Everything felt normal until she walked into the break room and overheard 2 associates talking. "Did you hear? Derek's already engaged to someone else. That Instagram model, Yasmin." "That was fast. Poor Clara. I mean, can you blame him, though? He's a partner at Goldman and Chase. He needed someone who looked the part." Clara set down her coffee cup carefully, turned, and walked out. She made it to the bathroom before the tears came. She was washing her face when Patricia Chen, one of the senior partners, walked in. "Clara, are you all right?" "I'm fine, Ms. Chen. Just needed a moment." Patricia studied her with sharp, intelligent eyes. "You know what I've learned in 30 years of practicing law? People who make you feel small are usually trying to feel bigger themselves. Don't let them take up space in your head." The words were kind, but Clara couldn't shake the feeling that everyone was looking at her differently now. The girl Derek had dumped. The girl who wasn't pretty enough. 3 months passed. Clara threw herself into work, took up yoga, and started seeing a therapist. She was rebuilding slowly when her mother called with devastating news. "Your father had a heart attack. He's stable now, but Clara, the medical bills, were going to lose the house." Clara's parents had mortgaged everything to put her and Natalie through college. Now, with her father unable to work and insurance covering only a fraction of the costs, they were drowning in debt. How much do you need? Clara asked, already knowing her savings wouldn't be enough. 200,000, maybe more depending on the rehabilitation costs. Clara felt the walls closing in. She made spreadsheet after spreadsheet, called banks, looked into loans she couldn't qualify for. Nothing worked. She was staring at her laptop at midnight, eyes burning, when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Miss Bennett, my name is Vincent Morty. I have a business proposition that might interest you. The voice was deep, smooth, with an accent she couldn't quite place. Italian, maybe, rich. How did you get my number? I make it my business to know things, Miss Bennett. I understand your father is ill. I understand you're looking for financial assistance. I can provide that. Every warning bell in Clara's head went off. What do you want in return? Dinner, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, I'll send a car. That's not an answer. It's the only one you'll get until we meet face to face. You can choose to come and hear my offer, or you can choose to let your parents lose everything they've worked for. The choice is yours. The line went dead. Clara didn't sleep that night. She researched Vincent Morty and found almost nothing. A few business articles mentioning real estate acquisitions. A blurry photo from a charity gala. No social media. No scandals. It was as if he'd been deliberately erased from the internet. The next evening, at exactly 7:30, a black Mercedes pulled up outside her building. The driver, an older man with kind eyes, opened the door. Miss Bennett, Mr. Morty is expecting you. Clara's hands shook as she smoothed down her dress, a simple navy blue number that she'd agonized over for an hour. She climbed into the car, watching the city lights blur past as they drove to an address in the most expensive part of town. The restaurant was small, exclusive, the kind of place that didn't have prices on the menu. A hostess led her to a private room where a man stood with his back to her, looking out a floor-to-ceiling window. Miss Bennett, thank you for coming. He turned, and Clara's breath caught. Vincent Morty was nothing like she'd imagined. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe late 30s. With dark hair touched with silver at the temples. His suit was perfectly tailored, but it was his eyes that held her, dark and intense, missing nothing. Please sit. Clara sat, her mind racing. Mr. Morty, I appreciate the dinner invitation, but I need to know what this is about. A small smile played at his lips. Direct, I like that. He poured her wine, then himself. I need a wife, Miss Bennett. You need money. I'm proposing a mutually beneficial arrangement. Clara almost laughed. You can't be serious. I'm always serious about business. This would be a contract marriage. 1 year. You'll receive $250,000, more than enough to cover your father's medical bills and your parents' mortgage. In return, you'll attend events with me, live in my home, and play the role of devoted wife. Why me? You could have anyone. Because you're not anyone. Vincent leaned forward. You're intelligent, discreet, and you need what I'm offering badly enough to consider it. You're also not interested in my money or my name. You won't fall in love with me or make this complicated. How do you know I won't fall in love with you? The question came out sharper than she'd intended. Because you just had your heart broken, because you're practical, because I'm choosing you precisely because there's no risk of emotional entanglement. He slid a folder across the table. The contract, read it, take your time, but know that I need an answer by tomorrow. Clara opened the folder with trembling hands. The contract was detailed, clinical, separate bedrooms, public displays of affection as needed, complete discretion, no romantic involvement. At the end of 1 year, an amicable divorce and her payment in full. Why do you need a wife? Vincent's expression hardened. That's not part of the arrangement. If I'm going to sell a year of my life, I deserve to know why. For a long moment, Vincent just looked at her. Then he sighed. My grandmother is dying. She has one wish before she goes, to see me married, settled, happy. I can give her that illusion for her final months. It was the first human thing he'd said all evening. Clara saw the grief beneath the cold businessman exterior. What happens after the year? You go back to your life. I go back to mine, clean break, no strings. Clara looked at the contract, at the number that could save her family, at the man who was offering her an escape from drowning in debt and despair. I need to think about it. You have until noon tomorrow. After that, the offer expires. The car ride home was silent. Clara clutched the folder to her chest, her mind whirling. It was insane. It was desperate. It was also her only option. She called Natalie. He wants to marry you. Clara, this sounds like the plot of a bad romance novel. I know how it sounds, but Dad's medical bills are crushing them. This could save everything. Or it could be dangerous. You don't know this man. I don't have a choice. The next morning, Clara put on her best suit, straightened her shoulders, and called the number Vincent had given her. I'll do it. The wedding was small, sterile, nothing like the ceremony Clara had once dreamed of. Vincent's grandmother, Lucia, attended, her eyes bright with joy even as her body failed. She held Clara's hand with surprising strength. You make my Vincent happy. I can see it in his eyes. Clara smiled, the lie tasting bitter on her tongue. Moving into Vincent's penthouse was surreal. Her belongings looked shabby against the marble and modern art. Vincent showed her to her room, a beautiful space with its own bathroom and balcony. We'll need to attend several events together. I've arranged for a stylist to help you select appropriate clothing. The stylist, Marcus, arrived the next day with racks of designer dresses. He took one look at Clara and clapped his hands. Darling, you're going to be stunning. Trust me. But at the first event, a charity gala, Clara felt everyone's eyes on her. She heard the whispers as Vincent introduced her as his wife. That's his wife, really. I expected someone more polished. She's rather plain, isn't it? Vincent's hand tightened on her waist. Ignore them, he murmured. But Clara couldn't, especially when Derek appeared with Yasmin on his arm. The Instagram model was everything Clara wasn't. Tall, thin, flawless. Derek's eyes widened when he saw her. Clara, what are you doing here? I'm here with my husband. Clara kept her voice steady. Husband, you got married. Derek looked between her and Vincent, confusion and something else, maybe jealousy, crossing his face. Yes, Vincent, this is Derek, my ex-fiancé. Vincent's expression didn't change, but his hand on Clara's waist became possessive. The one who broke your engagement in a public restaurant. I've heard about you. Derek flushed. Look, Clara, I'm sorry about how that ended, but... You're sorry? Clara felt something snap inside her. You humiliated me. You told me I wasn't good enough, that I was too fat, too ugly to be your wife. And now you're sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant that you could have tried harder. For us. Vincent stepped forward, his voice dropping to a dangerous quiet. I think you should leave. Now. Derek opened his mouth, looked at Vincent's expression, and thought better of it. He left, pulling Yasmin with him. Clara was shaking. Vincent guided her to a quiet corner. Are you all right? I'm fine, thank you for that. He's a fool. Vincent's eyes were intense on hers. Anyone who couldn't see your worth doesn't deserve a moment of your time. It was the kindest thing he'd said to her since they'd met. Clara felt something shift in her chest, something dangerous. Over the next few months, Clara and Vincent fell into a routine. They attended events together, played the perfect couple in public. But in private, they began to talk, really talk. Vincent told her about his childhood in Italy, his move to America, the business he'd built from nothing. Clara told him about her dreams of becoming a lawyer, her love of old movies, her complicated relationship with her body. Derek was wrong about you, Vincent said one night as they shared wine on his balcony. You're beautiful, Clara, not in spite of how you look, but because of who you are. You don't have to say things like that. The contract doesn't require compliments. I'm not saying it because of the contract. His eyes held hers. I'm saying it because it's true. Clara felt her heart race. This wasn't part of the plan. They weren't supposed to get close. But somehow, in the quiet moments between public appearances, they had. Then one evening, as they were getting ready for another gala, Vincent's business partner, Marco, visited. "Vincent, we need to talk privately." Clara started to leave, but Vincent stopped her. "She can stay. She's my wife." Marco looked uncomfortable. "The Romano family is making moves. They know about Clara. They're saying you've gone soft, that marrying some nobody shows weakness." Clara felt the words like a slap. Nobody, that's what she was to them, to everyone. Vincent's expression turned to ice. "The Romano family can say whatever they like. It doesn't concern me." "It does when they're trying to undermine your businesses, when they're telling everyone you married beneath you." "Enough," Vincent's voice cut like steel. "Get out." After Marco left, Clara turned to Vincent. "Who are you really? What business are you in?" Vincent was quiet for a long moment. "Import-export, real estate, investments." "That's not the whole truth, is it?" "No, it's not." Clara's stomach dropped. "What aren't you telling me?" Vincent met her eyes. "My family has connections to organizations that operate outside the law. I've spent the last decade distancing myself from that world, building legitimate businesses. But the Romano family, they're old enemies. They see my marriage to you as a sign of weakness because you're not from our world." "You're in the mafia," Clara said it flatly. "I was. I'm not anymore. But that world doesn't let go easily." Clara should have been terrified, should have run. But instead, she thought about the man who'd been kind to his dying grandmother, who'd treated her with respect when no one else had, who defended her against Derek. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want you to be afraid of me. Because for the first time in my life, someone looked at me and didn't see the Morty name or the money or the reputation. You just saw me." Clara crossed the room and took his hand. "I'm seeing you now, all of you, and I'm not running." Vincent pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. "You should. You should run far and fast from me." "I don't want to." The kiss happened naturally, inevitably. It was soft at first, tentative, then deepened into something that felt like coming home. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. "This wasn't part of the contract," Vincent said. "No, it was." "We can stop. We can go back to the arrangement." Clara looked into his eyes and saw the truth. She'd fallen in love with him. Slowly, gradually, without meaning to. And he'd fallen for her too. "I don't want to go back." That night changed everything. They stopped pretending. The separate bedrooms became one. The fake marriage became real in every way that mattered. But the Romano family wasn't finished. 2 weeks later, Clara was leaving work when a black van pulled up. 2 men grabbed her, pulled her inside. She screamed, fought, but they were too strong. She woke up in a warehouse, tied to a chair. A man sat across from her, smoking a cigar. "Mrs. Morty, finally we meet." "Who are you?" "Anthony Romano, and you're going to help me send a message to your husband." Fear flooded through Clara. "He'll kill you for this." Anthony laughed. "That's what I'm counting on. Vincent's been playing businessman for too long. It's time to remind him where he came from, and there's no better way to do that than to hurt what he loves." He pulled out a phone and called Vincent, putting it on speaker. "Romano, where is she?" "She's safe, for now, but that depends on you. You have 24 hours to sign over your shipping operations to me. If you don't, your wife pays the price. If you touch her, I will burn your entire organization to the ground." Big talk for a man who's gone soft. 24 hours, Vincent. Think carefully. The call ended. Clara's mind raced. She had to get out. She had to warn Vincent not to give in to Romano's demands. Using the skills she'd learned from watching legal thrillers, Clara worked at her bindings. It took hours, her wrists rubbing raw, but finally, the rope loosened. She waited until the guard changed, then made her move. She made it 3 blocks before they caught her. This time, Anthony wasn't amused. "Clever girl, but now you've made this personal." He raised his hand to strike her when the warehouse doors exploded inward. Vincent stood there with a dozen men, his face a mask of cold fury. "Step away from my wife." The next few minutes were chaos. Gunfire, shouting, Clara diving for cover. When the smoke cleared, Anthony Romano was on his knees, Vincent's gun to his head. You made a mistake coming after her. You've violated every code, Vincent. You brought an outsider into our world. She's not an outsider, she's my wife, and you're finished. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Vincent had tipped them off, had evidence ready to bury the Romano operation for good. He'd chosen the legal route over the violent one, proving he really had left that world behind. In the aftermath, as Clara was checked by paramedics, Vincent held her hand. I'm sorry, I never should have put you in danger. You didn't, Romano did, and we're okay now. We need to end this. The contract. I'll give you the money, you can go back to your life without this darkness following you. Clara grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. I love you, you idiot. I'm not going anywhere. You love me. I love you. Contract or no contract. Mafia or no mafia, I love you. Vincent kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. 6 months later, Clara stood before Vincent's grandmother Lucia one final time. The old woman was fatting, but her eyes were bright. You love my Vincent. I knew from the beginning. How? Because you looked at him the way I looked at my husband, like he was your whole world. Lucia squeezed her hand. Thank you for giving me this gift, for making my last days happy. Lucia passed peacefully 2 days later, surrounded by family. At the funeral, Clara stood by Vincent's side, no longer playing a role but living her truth. Afterward, Vincent took her to the cliff where he'd scattered his grandmother's ashes. I want to do this properly, the way we should have from the start. He got down on one knee, pulling out a ring. Clara Bennett Morty, I love you, not because of a contract or an arrangement, but because you walked into my life and showed me what it means to be seen, to be loved for who I am, not what I can provide. Will you marry me? For real this time. Clara laughed through her tears. We're already married. Then will you stay married to me, for the rest of our lives? Yes, 1,000 times yes. They renewed their vows in a small ceremony, just family and close friends. Clara wore a dress she chose herself, her body exactly as it was, because Vincent loved every inch of her, because she'd learned to love herself. Derek sent a wedding gift with a note. I was a fool. I hope he treats you better than I did. Clara threw the note away without reading it to Vincent. Derek was the past. Vincent was her future. At the reception, Natalie pulled Clara aside. You know, when you first told me about this contract marriage, I thought you lost your mind. And now? Now I see you happy for the first time in years. You're glowing, Clara. He's good for you. He sees me, Nat. Really sees me. Not the version of me I'm supposed to be, but who I actually am. Clara looked across the room at Vincent, who was laughing with her father. Her dad had made a full recovery, the house was saved, and her parents treated Vincent like the son they'd never had. Later that night, as they slow danced under string lights, Vincent whispered in her ear. Thank you for saying yes to a stranger's insane proposal. Thank you for seeing me when no one else did. I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you know how extraordinary you are. Clara rested her head on his shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart, and knew she was finally home. The girl who'd been abandoned for her looks had found something better than revenge. She'd found genuine love, the kind that saw past surfaces to the soul beneath. She'd found a man who chose her not in spite of who she was, but because of it. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all. If this story touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever felt judged for your appearance? Have you found love in an unexpected place? Your story matters, and we'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like this video and turn on notifications so you never miss our next inspiring story. Remember, you are worthy of love exactly as you are. Until next time, keep believing in the power of true connection.